Hey everyone, welcome to the Game Informer Show, a weekly podcast covering the video game industry. Join us each and every Thursday for a discussion of the... do that again. Welcome to the Game Informer Show, a weekly podcast covering the video game industry. Join us each and every Thursday for a discussion of the latest gaming news, reviews, and exclusive reveals with Game Informer staff and special guests from around the industry. My name is Marcus Stewart. I have Kyle Hilliard here. Hello.
Hello. How's it going?
Doing good. Can't complain.
I'm adding something to our list of things to talk about, Marcus. I think you see it, right?
I do see it. I see a Google Doc being updated in real time.
Okay.
It's very exciting for audio listeners. You would not believe the words that Kyle just typed.
It's fine.
I love building this up bigger than to what it actually is. Someone else who is bigger than they actually are on camera, Charles Hart.
Sure.
Hello?
I mean, aren't we all bigger than we actually are on camera?
I mean, I don't know if you watched the video version, but we have a tiny disclaimer on the right that says actual size.
Oh, okay.
Yeah,
so you guys are, but it doesn't apply to me, you're saying.
No.
Okay.
We have a tinier disclaimer on your box specifically.
Okay.
That says
counterintuitively, it's smaller.
Would this be a funny gag if we did do that on our windows where it was like a rear view menu or mirror where it says objects closer than they might appear? Would that make sense? Would that play?
I think
well,
so.
it depends on the screen you're watching it on, though, right?
A lot of our listeners do have like wall-sized TVs that they watch this
and I
on.
assume they watch this on that, probably, right?
Yeah,
surely no one's like sitting down to watch a movie and they throw on like the Game Informer show.
Yeah,
like,
no,
our
they make the
faces.
popcorn. 8:30
I like to
PM.
think that we're the distraction, like when some people watch a movie and play a game at the same time, or a TV show and a game. I like to think that we're that, but to a movie. So you watch a movie, and then you're also watching the Game Informer show
I'm
at
trying
the same
to
time.
think. I've certainly considered going to see like kids movies with my young daughter, and I'm trying to remember if I've ever popped in a podcast like on an air. I don't think I did. I think I always give the movie my full attention.
Would it be too loud?
Noise canceling AirPods, you got it. You're good to go.
What's a movie that you would like? You want to see it so little that you would podcast over it?
But you're paying to see?
That I paid to see?
Is that's what this context is, right?
Yeah.
Or you're saying this is at home?
No, I'm saying like going to a movie theater. Like my kid wants to go see a movie, and I'm like, okay, I'll take you. But like, I wanted to watch it so little that I popped in a podcast. I don't think I ever crossed that line, but I think I came close for sure.
But is there an example of the type of? I just don't know what movie you're so disinterested in.
Let's see. There's one I'm looking up. The only there was this movie that came out in 2019 called Wonder Park. It was an animated film. Mila Kunis does the voice of an animal in it. I slept like for 60% of it. Like it was just interminable. It was terrible movie.
I don't even recognize this movie.
Yeah, I was gonna say that sounds vaguely familiar.
It does not exist. It made no impact on the pop culture consciousness whatsoever. But me and my daughter were there, and we were watching it because she wanted to see it.
As a parent, Kyle, is there, when you're taking a kid to a movie and you have no interest in it, you're just doing it to make them happy, is there pressure to stay awake for at least enough of it if they want to talk about it afterwards? Like, you want to be able to sort of, like, react alongside them? Like, yeah, I love that part.
I guess I don't want to... you don't want your child to think you don't care about the movie that they're excited about. You want to be excited about the things your kids are excited about.
Which is why you slept through 60% of it.
There were a couple of movies that were great naps that,
Yeah, I was going to say, does she, like, grill you afterwards? Like, were you paying attention? And you're like, yeah, totally. I love that one part.
I feel like when you see movies with kids, you're like, did you like it? And they're like, yeah. What'd you think? It was good. And, like, that's all they give you.
Yeah.
There's a fun fact about the movie Wonder Park. I look it up on Wikipedia. A bunch of these characters have alternate UK voices.
Who's Mila Kunis?
Mila Kunis, like the main cast is the same, which is Jennifer Garner, Matthew Broderick, Mila Kunis, sorry. John Oliver is the same, but he does have a British accent, so that tracks.
All right,
Kenan Thompson gets swapped out.
What?
Why?
Yeah.
All right,
Ken
you guys.
Jeong.
This is from the IMDb trivia for Wonder Park. So grain of salt. I love IMDb trivia, but you can't take it at face value. It's a lot of made up stuff. But this basically will stand in for a review of Wonder Park. You guys ready?
Okay, yeah.
This film has no credited director. The Directors Guild almost always refuses to allow a film to be released without a credited director due to various legalities and contractual obligations. How the filmmakers of this film were allowed to release a film without a credited director remains unclear.
What's the... Okay, now I'm infinitely more interested in this movie now.
Now you gotta go watch Wonder Park. It does credit someone named Dylan Brown on IMDb.
On the Wikipedia, it says Brown was fired near the end of production. Paramount Pictures and Nickelodeon Movies subsequently did not include a director's credit in the completed film.
So
he must have done something...
Yeah.
So when you go to the movie, it doesn't say directed by. It doesn't say such and such film.
Yeah.
Okay.
It just says redacted.
Redacted.
Okay, so it's
Smithy.
like he must have done
Alan
something
Smithy.
bad, right? Because it's
Yeah.
like if he just got let go for like business reasons, they would probably still credit him. So he must have done something like, "Oh, we have to cancel you," basically, right?
Yes. Yeah. Well. So Wonder Park. Go check it out.
Directed by ? Well,
Smithy.
yes. Hey, you know who's I was trying to find a segue to this about redacted directors who might be living in shame and infamy now and tie it back into video games we've been playing. I've been playing games that I'm not ashamed to talk about that were directed by people that are probably credited.
That are probably credited.
Yeah. One of those video games, Kyle, I'm excited to get your take on this. Just came out in early access this week. It's called Questmaster, which the easy pitch for this is, remember Super Mario Maker? Remember how when that came out, everyone said, wouldn't it be cool if they did this for like Zelda? Like if you could just build your own Zelda? And then Questmaster just says, yeah, we got that. We can do that. This is a game that I forget the first time I saw it. It was like I think it was last year at an indie showcase, or it might have even been like a Nintendo Direct, but it was something. But I remember I kind of filed it away and be like, that looks interesting. I wanna check that out. It's a game that specifically apes a Link to the Past style. So if you specifically
16-bit.
just 16-bit, and not even just the pixels, but just like the art direction, like the animations too. Like your little character swings the sword in the same sort of like flurry that Link does. A lot of the character designs are kind of that squat Link to the Past style. Just like even the sound effects and not the same sound effects, of course, but they sort of like harken back to Link to the Past. So it's very much a like build your own Link to the Past. I've been playing a bit of it over the last couple days, building some dungeons, and as well as playing other people's dungeons, because of course you can upload your creations online and have the world judge and rate them. And it seems pretty cool so far. It's got some rough edges, sort of like a reminder of it being in early access, and some weird bugs I've run into. But as of now, it seems promising. So what's interesting is that this game isn't just like a level editor. Like there does seem to be like a single player component to it.
That was my first big question. Is there like a campaign? Is there a goal or anything like that?
Yeah, because you wake up in your little house, like classic Zelda style. You can pick one of 3 different characters. You can either be a male, a female, or I think it's a dog person. I can't tell if it's a dog or a rabbit, but it's like a fluffy-eared, furry, anthropomorphic thing. Mm-hmm. But you pick one, you go through the sort of like Zelda rigmarole of going to get your sword and training with the weaponsmith to like, hey, this is how you do a spin attack, and this is how you do this. There are different vendors in the town, some of which aren't currently available in early access. And then there's like a big castle that you can't get to early on because there's guards blocking, and they're like, hey, you got to go do stuff first before we can let you in here. But the game directs you pretty quickly to go to the level editor, which is its own shop, and it's like, hey, come here and just make a level. And there's no real tutorial to it, so it is a lot of like just hovering over icons and reading the tooltips to figure out, okay, like how do I actually do things? So there's that sort of like that kind of rough period where you're just kind of clicking things and just seeing what things does. But things are divided into tabs in a pretty organized manner. But yeah, it's just like you're just laying out rooms. You're putting enemies. You're placing traps. You can even place you're placing chests, items, weapons, and just building your own dungeon. And it works like just as a mechanic. It works pretty intuitively. Like I was switching back between playing with a controller for just like the running around doing Zelda stuff, and then mouse for actual That's level editor. And like jumping in and out of the editor is really smooth. Like you can go from like, I'm going to put a room down, put some stuff, and then immediately just jump in and play it, and then immediately go back to the editor. It's pretty snappy, which I like. But it's someone that's never really aspired to, I feel like I've thought about making my own Mario game more than I've ever thought about making my own Zelda game. And maybe because I feel
am super intimidated by Zelda. Like the idea of trying to make, because Mario, you're making an obstacle course. Right?
Yeah.
And Zelda, you're like trying to think ahead of how players will think and how they will react to unlocking things. Like that seems hard.
It is. I have found that as I've been laying things out, where I'm just like, what do I want this to be exactly? And then on one hand, sort of replicating just like the Zelda formula of like, well, if I put this weapon here, I need to have something in this room that immediately teaches you how to use it before you move on. And then also like just this common sense like, oh, I'll put a trapdoor here, but oh wait, if I put a trapdoor, then I need a floor beneath it probably that it drops you in, right? Because you can build like as many floors to a thing as you want. So it's been I've learned as I like started. I've only made one dungeon so far. It's a piece of crap. You can actually there's an NGT out now that you can watch where Kyle and I take a tour of it. But it was enough to sort of like get my feet wet, and then it gave me a greater appreciation for like the design process of these games, at least more than I already had. We're just like, yeah, I wonder if they start at the end and work in reverse, because I felt like once I had laid out a bunch of stuff, it wasn't until I like started editing when I ran through it. It's like, okay, I built one room where it was like a long kind of like corridor, like a narrow corridor, and I was like, I'm gonna put a boomerang at the end, and then I want something in the middle that's just gonna like screw you over that you have to get past to get to the boomerang. So I put because there's a grid layout too that you can put to help make laying things out easier. And so this like room was like 3 squares wide, and in the middle square I just put the collapsible floor tiles that you step on, you just fall through it. But it's kind of hard to see unless you're paying attention. So it's like, oh, I bet the person that would come in here, they would just beeline it to the boomerangs. There's no other threats in there, and then they're just going to fall on the floor, and that's going to be funny. And then they have to figure out they have to go around the perimeter. And then I was like, but what would be even funnier if you put those, what are those blades? Those like spinning blades, Kyle, that when you enter a room, as soon as you approach them, they just kind of fly at you?
Yeah. They right. I know what you're talking about.
Yeah.
I'm laughing though at your primary design focus being this would be funny.
Yeah. I mean, it's kind of like I don't know if you guys played a lot of Mario Maker, but like I feel like that was like the motivation for like not only like is this cool, but also wouldn't it be funny if like they're gonna think this is this and they're gonna get completely screwed over, and it's gonna make them really upset, but I'm gonna be laughing on the other side. And that's why I took 4 of those spinny blades and I just put them in the corners of the room, and there's not enough space in this room for really a way for you to maneuver around them. So as soon as you get in, you're just like assaulted by them, and by the time you get out, you have maybe like a heart left. And they're like, this is like a bad design, and it's funny, but then when you have to do it over and over, because the one downside though I think it's necessary is that every time you edit while you're playing it resets the room back to the beginning. So if you have the boomerang and decide, oh, I need to change something, then you have to go get the boomerang again, because it just puts everything back where it was. So if you have to keep that in mind as you're like running through it. You're like, oh, if I change something, then I'm gonna have to do all those sequence of events over again, or unless I feel like skipping through it. Mm-hmm. What's also cool is that you can do some like light programming where you can edit the logic for how things work. So for chest, you can just put a chest down, or you can set it to where it appears when you fulfill a certain condition. So some of them are like, oh, this chest only appears when you kill everything in the room, or this chest only appears when you light the torches, and there's even, you could set it by sequence. They're like, okay, if you set, I still haven't really messed around with this, so I'm not entirely sure how it works, but my suspicion is just like, oh, if you have 3 different switches in the room, you can assign like 1, 2, and 3 to them, saying that this is the sequence they need to be activated in for the chest to appear, or whatever reward. Because it doesn't have to just be chests. You can have like heart pieces or money or any sort of reward just be tied to that. So that's kind of fun, and it's sort of that peek behind the curtain of like, oh yeah, I guess that's probably how they do it when they're actually making these games. Nintendo, I mean.
Like it just gives you, it sort of makes you think about it from a new perspective, right?
Yeah, and also trying to replicate what I've seen in Zelda games. Like, oh, when I beat a boss, I want a heart piece to appear in the room. How do I do that? And then you're like, oh, okay, this is how you did it. Or I want the little teleporter that warps you back to the beginning. I want to place that there and place it at the entrance. And there's so many things to play with, and it seems like there's a lot more you can unlock from what you get in the beginning, because I've played a couple of the user creator levels, which are, at least the top rated ones, are infinitely better than the garbage I made. But they have a lot more stuff to play with than I currently have available. From like, there's different themes you can have, so you can even, from like a broader sense, you can change the theme of a dungeon. So, like, I have, like, a grassy one, and the only other one I have unlocked is, like, a kind of a fiery-themed one, and it changes the music and everything, too.
Oh, cool.
But there was a couple of ones I saw, I was like, oh, this is like a castle. I don't have that one. Okay. And then other just sort of, like, kind of like classic Zelda mechanics. I haven't seen anything that I haven't seen in a Zelda game, necessarily. It just seems to be, like, their versions of, like, oh, conveyor belts, or, you know, what are the weird, the pulling the chain lever thing, or the one level I played, they had a pretty elaborate, like, the floor tiles that light up, like you have to light up all the tiles without stepping on the same one over and over again. So like somebody made like a pretty elaborate version of that, and like some bosses that I haven't seen. You only have 2 bosses that you can place in a room at the start, but it seems cool so far. Like, yeah. I want to mess around with it some more. Like I said, there is some bug stuff. Like, I've had mechanics break on me that were working fine before. Like, I had one instance where I had a boss key, because in this game, and I don't even remember if you had to do this in Link to the Past. Maybe it's been too long since I played it, but you have to carry a boss key all the way to the boss door. Like, it doesn't just go in your inventory. You have to physically pick it up and walk it to the door, which I was like, has that ever been a thing? Has it just been that long since I played?
That might be
like Link to the Past?
Like a Minish Cap thing?
I don't think so. I played Minish Cap like in the last year or two. I don't remember that.
It sounds vaguely familiar. It's probably not Minish Cap, but it does sound familiar. I'll look at
it. I was wondering if I was
cool
just
idea.
It makes it harder, because then you have to, when you fight stuff, you have to put the key down, kill it, and then pick it back up. And you only have, again, at least from what I have, you can only have one like item equipped at a time. Or not even equipped, you just carry it. So, like, if I have bombs, I can't even have the boomerang in my inventory. Like, it just switches out that slot. And then you have to go...
That's got to be just just an idea to, like, we got to simplify, right? We can't let everyone have access to every item in every room, or else your head's going to explode, right? Like, we got to limit you in some way, maybe, just to get you getting the hang of how we could do this, maybe?
Maybe, and maybe it's something that does expand as you play more of the game, and they give you more things to play with, or maybe it's just an early access thing, and they'll expand upon it over time. It's hard to tell, but it was interesting seeing those limits of like, okay, I don't remember like Link to the Past being this limiting, but okay. But there were times where like there was a time where the boss key wouldn't let me carry it. Like, I picked it up and it was like just floating in the air, so I could only throw it and not carry it. So I was just picking it up and throwing it across the room, but then I just said screw it and then just spawned the boss key in front of the boss door, because I just wanted to fight the boss that I put down. But it's fun, Kyle. I really want you to play this, because I would love to do a thing where we each really try to create a good level and make each other play it and see if we can get through it, just as two Zelda fans trying to see who can make a better dungeon.
Yeah, that'd be fun. I did want to shout out, just as we're talking about it, last year I never got a chance to try it, but there was a game called Super Dungeon Maker, which was very similar. It was a dungeon creator inspired by Zelda, and it came out on Switch. And, you know, like, looking on Steam, it's you know, it's positive. It's got, like, positive user reviews and stuff like that. So, like, if you're interested in this as a genre, that's another one to check out, Super Dungeon Maker.
Okay. Yeah, I don't think I've heard of that one, so I'm gonna look at. Is it still like 16-bit graphics too, or?
Yeah.
Oh, okay.
I think it was one of those games that we all run into where I think I got a code in like early November or something, and I was like, I'm sorry, but I have a million things I kind of have to play first. It's just how it goes in that time of year for us.
Yeah, I will also say the thing I've enjoyed the most and is the most interesting about playing other people's levels is that when you play enough Zelda games, and we've talked about this in our Majora's Mask Super Replay, Kyle, where you can get through a lot of those dungeons because if you keep a lot of the sort of like tenets in mind of how Nintendo designed Zelda games. Like you've always said, like, if you're overthinking, then it's probably wrong. But when you're playing other people's levels, that goes out the door. He's like, I don't know what this person had in mind.
Right.
Maybe it is this stupid. Or
maybe I do need to overthink this,
Yeah, like maybe they just have like weirder sensibilities. So I've been running into things where it's like, I can't assume... I have to almost turn off my Nintendo brain unless they're trying to replicate that logic. But there's been plenty of instances where it's like, oh no, you just had a weird idea here. and either it's fun or it's like bad, but you kind of respect the weirdness of it,
This dungeon, I feel like the designer was just doing stuff that they thought were funny.
He's like, I just walked into a room and then just a bunch of fireballs just came at me.
Then I slipped on a banana peel? I didn't even know that was a mechanic.
Okay, the door locked behind me and there's no way out. Which you could do, I think.
I just fill in floor tiles and it just said balls.
I haven't thought about that, Charles. I'm going to have to try that next time I get in there.
I did, by the way, look it up. Carrying boss keys is like a DS Zelda era thing. It's like Phantom Hourglass.
Oh.
It's funny because I played Phantom Hourglass in the last like month because we did it on replay when Marcus was out of town recently.
Oh, okay.
But I don't think I didn't get to any dungeons. We just played like an hour near the beginning. So yeah, I'd forgotten about that. It's been a while.
But yeah, that is a Questmaster. Like I said, it's out on Steam right now in early access. No idea how long it's going to be there, but it seems cool. If you're a Zelda fan, or like if you're like a Mario Maker person and you happen to like Zelda, I think this is really going to be up your alley. So excited to see how that comes together over time. Charles, you have been airdropping into Fortnite lately. With its new season, I'm not going to attempt to name the season because they all sound like Bible chapters, and I don't know the logic behind them of like chapter 5, verse 3.
Oh, okay, that's what you're saying. I thought you meant just like the title. The title of this season is Wrecked, and I was like, that is decidedly not a Bible chapter.
I thought it was a book of Genesis.
But you meant...
Oh, that was one of the ones that was taken out. Yeah.
it was, chapter 5, season 3, I believe, is what we're on.
Okay.
Okay. Would you bet money on that?
Yeah. Not a lot.
So wait, you said chapter 5 season 3?
Yeah.
So Fortnite 5.3 is like how we could refer to it.
Fortnite 5:3 Wrecked.
World 5, level 3.
Yeah, it's I don't need to talk about super long because if you're playing Fortnite, you already know about it, but it's cool.
Well, I want to know how you feel about it, Charles, if it's a good,
So the main thing this season does is it brings like cars back into the limelight, I guess. Yeah. So
we're talking general, not the franchise cars.
Correct. Lightning McQueen.
I mean, honestly, Fortnite, you don't know. Like, is Lightning McQueen in this game?
I did see a meme that was like, this is what Fortnite feels like now. And it was someone just like poorly animating a bunch of, what's his name? Lightning
McQueen?
Yeah, like Lightning McQueen's going back and forth across and they were just like spamming ka-chow, ka-chow, ka-chow. And they're like, that's what Fortnite is now. And I'm like, all right.
One of my favorite Lightning McQueen video game memes, because there's so many, we all love them all.
Of course.
Is one of him wearing the like generic helmet from Skyrim and saying ka-chow, and it's like a breath like from the... Anyways,
that's got to be a mod.
I'll give it up.
That's got to be an actual mod at this point.
I hope
right?
so.
Yeah.
The thing in this game, it brings cars back in the limelight. So when I started playing, which was chapter 3, I think chapter 3, season 3, you could, with any car, you could pick up like reinforced tires, and you could put a cow catcher on there, which would like helps you ram stuff. And so it was like a pretty regular part of my like Fortnite routine of like me and whoever I was playing with. First thing we do is find a car, and then we get tires and a cow catcher, and that would just be like a big source of armor, and like it's just a good way to enter a firefight or get out of one quickly. It was just always the first thing I did. And then when the new chapter started, so like at the end of the year, chapter 4 started, they took out the tires and cow catchers. So there's still cars in the game. It might not have been immediately the chapter, but they have since taken out wheels and cow catchers. So cars to me have been a lot less important, especially because the wheels let you go off-road, and so much of the game is off-road. So if you get a cool car and you have the off-road tires, you can basically go wherever you want. So it's just been a while if that wasn't the case. And now they've brought those back in like new forms, and then they've also added like turrets to go on top of cars. And it's not a Mad Max crossover, but it's like a Mad Max crossover. It has all the same feelings as it, and I would be shocked if like I'm surprised there isn't already like a Furiosa skin in the shop.
Is Mad Max in the game?
Time.
Have they ever added just Max?
No.
I mean, that's a Tom Hardy license now, and even I don't think he's coming back, as Mad Max ever really. And no one wants to touch Mel Gibson with anything. So, like, if Mad Max is in Fortnite, it's just like generic leather jacket guy.
Yeah,
it's like what it would be at this point.
And they do like they have Marvel characters and other characters that appear in movies and other things where they're not like specifically the actors, or they don't look like the actors.
I mean, but Mad Max is a cinematic character, right? Like he is, he's not like a guy that exists in comics and novels and animated shows. It's like, he was invented for the movies, but yeah.
There's the video game Mad Max that's just a dude.
Yeah, kind of looks like generic leather jacket guy, like
just take that model.
Yeah.
But so the cars, the other nice thing about it is you used to have to like you'd see the car power up, you'd walk over to it, you'd swap out whatever was in your inventory for the thing, and then you chuck it at the car, and then it gets the power up. Now there's like crates on the ground, you can just drive your car through them, and then they like immediately get the upgrade. So it's a lot more seamless, like made with cars in mind. And yeah, it just rocks. And I played one game of it so far, and I drove around a car and I crashed into other cars, and you can put turrets on the back and you can switch your seats. So I was driving around, I hit a car, a guy gets out of the car, and I was like, I'm going to switch up to the turret and shoot this guy. So then I was shooting him, but then he ran and got in the driver's seat of my car while I was stuck in the turret, and then just drove the car away with me still in it, and he ended up killing me. He truly outsmarted me. But it was still cool. It was still fun.
That's some real like Halo strategies right there. Yeah, that's good.
And I have. Oh no, continue.
I was gonna say there's also Fallout crossover in this battle pass, which I don't have, but they added.
Here I'll be right back. You guys keep talking about Fallout. This is the spot, Marcus.
I'll try to time it properly. So one of the things is in the battle pass, there's power armor, which is very cool. I was kind of disappointed because I would have liked for power armor to be like a weapon or like suit in game, because they do that.
Right,
sometimes.
like it's like functional in some way.
Yeah, it's not like there's just a dude named Power Armor in Fortnite.
John Power Armor.
Yeah, John Power. But yeah, you can get that, and I think there's 2 colors, as there often is with that. So that's cool. And then also in the game, they've added a new type of like potion. I guess it exists as a potion. It's like a healing item. I'm kind of vamping. I'm just trying to see if Kyle will maybe pop in at just like the perfect time. But who knows when he'll pop in, and maybe it'll be now, and maybe it'll be
he might
later.
be putting on his power armor.
Depending on his power armor, how much speed he's got. Oh, there are also like super fists. They're like mechanical fists. I don't know if they're supposed to be like related to the power armor.
Yeah, I was gonna say, I'm trying to think of like, is that a Fallout thing that I've forgotten about?
But you can like uppercut as like a movement option, and you can do these like fist punches in the air to like propel you in certain directions. I think that's unrelated to Fallout. But there's also now you can get Nuka-Cola in the game.
Whoa, look, that was perfect, Charles.
What?
I have Nuka-Cola from Jones Soda, which I don't know if I've ever had a Jones Soda, but they sent us some, and I said I would try it on the podcast. They're like, can we send you some? And I was like, I'm probably not going to write a review of Fallout soda. But I'll try some. So I wanted to try some on the podcast. So that was. Did you plan that, Charles? Did you even know what I was getting?
Yeah, I mean, I assumed. Okay. I assumed you had it made sense.
You just thought you looked like a Fallout soda guy.
Yeah. I went through all the trouble of getting like a can opener or whatever, like a bottle opener, but it definitely says twist off there on the Nuka-Cola cap. So
that feels like a Fallout story of like a guy that travels 12 years to find a can opener to open his perfect bottle of Nuka-Cola, and then it was twist off the whole time.
Are you guys Fallout people?
Marcus,
oh yeah. Okay, it's supposed to be blue, right?
Yes.
Like it should be blue, right?
Well, what flavor is it? Is it just Nuka-Cola flavor, or is it a different...
Jones Special Release, which, that's not canon, so we can just ignore that. But then it's Nuka Victory Cola. Peach mango flavored soda. But, I mean, I feel like, I don't know. I think of Nuka-Cola as being blue. But, I'll give it a taste. So
there are, on the Fallout Wiki, there's other flavors of Nuka-Cola.
Oh, there is? Okay.
So there is orange Nuka-Cola.
For audio listeners,
is there Peach mango?
I'm on the Fallout Wiki. Control F. Peach. Not seeing anything.
All right. Well, it's tasty. It's peach mango soda. They know what they're doing over there, Jones.
It's good.
It's solid. Yeah.
Do you feel like you are recovering some health and then maybe some shields over time?
Oh, I do actually. Yeah, my shields.
That's exactly what it does in Fortnite.
Oh, you got a whole pack
whole
there.
Thing,
4-pack. Nice. We should hold up.
Oh, there's a QR code in the cap. I'll have to scan that and see what that is. But yeah, I don't drink a lot of soda these days, but yeah, this is good. It's fun. Hey, it's Fallout stuff, God, everyone loves Fallout now. The TV show's hot.
Yeah. The color reminds me of the Buffalo Wing soda I drank on, I think it was the Sekiro Super Replay when we were doing the Hot Wings challenge. I had 1 week where I forewent the wings and just said I'll drink some nasty Buffalo Wing soda instead.
How was it bad? It sounds bad.
It wasn't as bad as you would think, but it wasn't something I would like drink in my free time.
Right.
So I did look it up. Nuka-Cola Victory is what that bottle was, Kyle. That is a specific Fallout thing that is orange.
Oh, cool. Well, that's fun then. So they did get the right color, but just not a flavor from. I mean, they just tried to make a good flavor. I guess they, they don't want to make apocalypse flavored soda.
Hey, it's a canon now.
And the QR code, you scan it, it takes you to Amazon to watch the show. So,
there you go.
Does it give you like a free month of Prime to watch it? Or is it... Okay, that seems like that'd be useful.
But that's fun. That's a cool thing. Fallout soda. There you go.
Fallout soda. Just like in Fortnite, available now.
Also, a skin, I don't know. I guess. Is that the extent of the the Fallout stuff in Fortnite?
As far as I know, it's just the power armor skin and the Nuka-Cola.
Man, it seems weird. And I guess maybe they couldn't have known how successful the show would be, but like I would imagine this has been in the works like before the show came out. So it's almost weird that there isn't like Ella Purnell's character as like a skin or something, or like the ghoul or something.
Yeah.
When it's like Battle Pass, this is about the extent of it. There's usually like you'll get the main Battle Pass and then like a special like featured skin that's also like a tie-in and that have like their own separate quest that unlocks like halfway through. I believe this season that's Magneto. So Magneto's in Fortnite now, and that'll be cool.
So he can just instantly win, right? Because all the guns are made out of metal. Like he can just take those away from people.
I think there is like a magnet. I saw in the trailer he had some kind of like magnetic ability, and he does have a taunt where he like takes a gun apart into all its pieces.
Does Magneto canonically is he quick enough to like control bullets? Right?
Yeah, he has stopped bullets fired at him a lot of times. Yeah.
Okay.
Can he hold a player up and kill them by sucking the iron out of their blood?
I haven't played as him yet, so I don't want to make any promises, but probably yes.
Can he, Charles, let me ask you another question since you haven't played as him yet, but can you make him move a chess piece just a little tiny bit, just like this tiniest little bit?
And then people get really excited.
I do think what he can do is if you can get someone in a chair and tie them up, which is not a thing in Fortnite, but if you do it, I think he can move a quarter, but just like really slowly.
Through their skull, hopefully.
I mean, yeah. I mean, if you aim it there, but just like really slowly moving.
Right, gotcha.
Is this right? Is this just comic book Magneto? This isn't Ian McKellen or Michael Fassbender Magneto?
I'm pretty sure it's just Fortnite Magneto. So much Googling on the show today.
Yeah.
This is journalism.
This is journalism. Yeah. Just pretty standard comic book Magneto.
Cool. No, that's good. That's what it should be in Fortnite. Yeah.
The equivalent of this would be there was a season where Geralt from The Witcher, he was like the Magneto equivalent, so he had some like specific quests you could do to unlock him, and then Doom Guy was in the Battle Pass.
Yeah. Charles, I'm sorry. Did you call him Gerald?
Is it Geralt?
Yeah, Geralt.
I don't hear it said out loud very often. Okay,
Gerald is Arnold's friend from Hey Arnold. He has a field named after him. Okay, that's a different guy.
Gerald, who's the actor? I'm sorry, this joke is the Hemsworth who's playing him now.
Liam
in the TV show. Liam Hemsworth plays Gerald.
That's Gerald.
Henry Cavill played Geralt.
That's really good.
They made him feel good about himself.
I default to soft G's. Like I never don't read it as GIF. I know a lot of people prefer GIF, but I am always like, it feels like I'm translating it into another language when I say GIF.
Yeah. Well, GIF is technically the correct one, right? We just all choose to ignore it.
Yeah. But I mean, I don't want to be the guy that's
it's graphical, right? Like, but the creator says GIF. It's all, there's no right answer.
GIF to me that's peanut butter.
Yeah.
Sure. I also don't eat peanut butter, so like I'm fine to replace that GIF with my personal GIF. Anyways, we can talk about other video games. I completely derailed this with Geralt.
It's okay. Some might say that show got derailed after season 3. So.
Or right, I think I made it one episode into season 3, and I was like, well, I'm done. No more Witcher for me.
Happy trails, Henry Cavill.
Go make your Warhammer dream project or whatever.
Oh, he's got to be. He has to do that before he dies.
I mean, officially, I think he's doing something. He's like executive producing some Warhammer thing. Yeah.
Oh, okay, cool.
Yeah.
Good for him. Good for him. Hopefully he doesn't get fired or screwed over in some way. That seems to happen to him a lot. I've been playing an older game, but I got to it for the first time for a trip to a secret event that I'll be able to talk about in the coming days. But I played Mario vs. Donkey Kong, the remake, the game that you reviewed, Charles, and liked quite a bit. I was on a long plane ride to LA, had a good 4.5 hours to kill, and I had forgotten that I owned this game, honestly. and I was like, you know what, this is a good time I'm in the mood for something like this, as someone that has never played this series at all. And then wound up just like blowing through it in a way that I wasn't really anticipating I would. And I think a lot of that is, like half of that is that a lot of it's easier than I thought it would be for like 2/3 of it. It's really not to like the last couple worlds that it started to become a thing where I was like, on occasion having to resist the urge to audibly curse on a crowded plane, like loudly.
Speaking of a game where you have to carry keys, right?
There's a lot of key carrying.
Yeah.
He doesn't. Sometimes he can throw the keys too.
Mm-hmm.
But then the keys are like weirdly. They're really like attached to you, because the moment you leave them alone, they're like, you have 12 seconds to get back to this key, and then it warps back. Like, they're really clingy, these keys. But yeah, I enjoyed it. It's a fun little puzzle game. It's like, I don't know if I have anything profound other than add to that. It's fun. It's weird because it goes from like pretty breezy and fun to suddenly being like really frustrating towards the end because of the like having to fail and redo sometimes a very tricky sequence of events again. And then when the thing that killed you was something either you hadn't figured out yet, or a lot of times I got screwed over because the platforming is more like stiff, and not in a bad way, just in a way that it needs to be for this style of game than a traditional Mario game. But my brain was like for a long time stuck on traditional Mario platforming physics. So I would be trying to run and jump and do all these things like, oh, I could hop around the stage with ease. And it's like, no, that's not what this game is. So I would I would pretty much play myself a lot. Mm-hmm. I was like, oh, I took this jump in a way that I really should not have, and now I fall into a spike pit, and the last like 30 seconds of assembling things a certain way to get to where I need to be have been undone, and now I got to do it all again. And then it becomes that like I guess it starts to get in a little tedium territory of like, well, I know what to do here. I just have to do it all again and then get past the one thing that I am stuck on, and then I'm good. And then a lot of time, and you're also on a time limit too. Mm-hmm. So it's just like, it gets pretty intense there towards the end in a way that I was like not expecting.
Did you do the plus worlds or just the first worlds?
I've not done the plus worlds. I 100%ed all of the regular worlds. I would not leave the boss fights against Donkey Kong unless I was like doing it because you can only 100% him if you take 0 damage.
Yeah, that sucks.
Yeah, and there were some. The worst one was the ice one where you're slipping. You're like slipping around because like, and ice worlds in general kind of annoy me a lot of time because it feels like intentionally you're out of control, but it's kind of like it can very easily veer into like this is just not fun, you know. And the Donkey Kong fight kind of veered into that. And again, if I wasn't so obsessed with like I need to beat him without taking damage, I could have beaten him like within the first run. But I was like, no, I have to not get hit because I've 100% everything else. I have to keep the streak alive. So I was there for probably like 30 minutes trying to beat him without taking hits and wanting to scream at multiple points. There was an old lady next to me that occasionally would glance over and be like, "What's this? Oh, what's that? What's the Donkey Kong game he's playing? Is that the game I grew up with?" I'm just speaking for this woman.
Okay, she didn't say this.
No. But in her eyes, she's probably like, "That looks like the game I played in 1983 or whenever Donkey Kong came out." I think it was 85 actually. But actually, no, I think it was 83.
No, Donkey Kong is probably like 80, probably 81. Something like that, right?
Super Mario Brothers was 85.
Yeah, and Donkey Kong was a couple years before that, right?
Right. Video Game Crash year.
Right. Yeah. Saved the crash.
It did.
Brought us back into the lightness. Back into the light.
The lightness?
Yeah, I don't know what I was saying there.
But yeah, I have not played the Plus Worlds. I don't know if I will. I'm kind of like burned out. Well, not burned out, but I've had my fill of it after I wrapped it up. I was like, yeah, I think I'm done here.
If you were, I was asking because the Plus Worlds I found particularly frustrating. Where like the first Worlds, I was like, oh, okay, this is kind of like a slow increase in difficulty, but I'm still having fun. And you get to the end, it's like, oh, that was kind of hard. And then the Plus Worlds are just like all that. I turned on. There's like a casual mode in the game, where when you die, you just kind of bubble back to the last place you had your feet on the ground, or there's like checkpoint flags. I just did that for all the Plus Worlds because it's like, I know I could beat these if I spent long enough on them, but I'm not trying to prove anything to anyone, and I just kind of want to get through them, so I might as well turn on the easiest mode. But yeah.
That's cool. That's an option. Yeah.
Yeah.
That's a good point.
Was that a 2023 game, or was that 2024?
That was this year.
That was like
it's February.
January, February. Yeah.
Do you think that'll be like on your, at the end of the year, you'll look back on it, both of you guys, like as like one of your faves, or just like a nice little puzzle game that was sort of cotton candy?
I think probably cotton candy. Yeah.
Maybe if we have like a best remake / remaster discussion, it'll come up, but only because
Rebirth will just like lift its hand up.
I was gonna say,
Sephiroth immediately stabs Donkey Kong in the chest,
right. like the Smash Brothers trailer.
I do wish that they like Nintendo had come up with some better like naming convention for like this and Thousand Year Door, other than it just being like, well, it's the one on Switch, so you know it's the new one. It's not called like Mario vs. Donkey Kong remake, or like you just know the year it comes out in, so that's it. But like,
yeah, I wonder what their reasoning for that is, because it's like Thousand Year Door. I didn't think of that either. That they just called it Paper Mario Thousand Year Door, and it's like if you ask them, they're like, yeah, I mean, there's one game that exists, and we put it on a new platform. Like, do they feel that way about Mario vs. Donkey Kong? I don't know.
It just dawned on me too that they both came out the same year. They're both 2004 games, so both of them 20 years later got remakes / remasters.
There's also Super Mario RPG, which I guess is different
That
because
was
the other one
last
was
year.
7 stars.
Yeah,
I was
they
just thinking in
cut
terms
the
of like the
subtitle
naming
at least.
convention. Yeah,
That at
Yeah.
least has a different name technically.
Yeah.
Which it was kind of like it's just the name that everyone called it. You know, no one
Right.
ever said Super Mario RPG Legend of the Seven Stars.
Well,
They're
only
just
real
just call
ones
it what
did.
people call it. So you're right. I'm sorry.
It's fine, and it's fine that it's fine.
Yeah.
Basically, it's
Yeah.
like I had my fun with it. It was cool to be like, oh, I know what these are now. After that was one of my biggest gaps in like Nintendo franchises with that series. So it's like, okay, yeah, I get it now, and it got me like mildly curious. Like, no, maybe I'll look up one of the like the Wii U one or the 3DS ones. I wonder if I would like those or not. Yeah, I like. Does it get better from here? I don't know, but yeah, I had my fun with it. It was a good little playing game. Kyle, speaking of playing old games, you've been playing Mad Max, the hottest game of 2015, right? I think that's when it came out.
Sounds about right.
The Avalanche Mad Max open world game.
Yeah, I would type it in, but I'm using a different mic and it picks up my keyboard a little bit too much.
I can
But
look
yeah,
it up real quick. That's I'm pretty
bet. I mean,
good with
certainly
years.
I'm not alone. Like it's probably. I bet if you look at the Steam stats, I bet there's a bunch of people picking up Mad Max right now. You know.
Yeah, 2015. I was right. September 1st.
Nice. Perfect. Yeah, that was a game. It came out, and I still had a copy, right? Like, I had a copy on Xbox, and it was nice because I booted it up, and it actually had pulled my save from the cloud from, like, 2015. So I didn't have to go through, like, the tutorial. That was, like, the choice is, like, do I play the tutorial and refamiliarize myself, or do I just jump in at what was ultimately, like, 2 hours in and bypass a lot of tutorial but be a little lost? And it worked out. Like I got my a handle on it pretty quickly, and I hadn't even gotten far enough to get all the tutorials. Like I learned how to like choose new abilities and stuff like that. But I mean, I think it goes without saying that this is completely born of going to see Furiosa, Mad Max Saga, which was fantastic. It's so great. You saw it, right, Marcus?
I did. I got to see it at the Chinese Theater in Hollywood.
that's cool.
It's the first time I've ever actually been inside of there.
So, but that was like that's not an IMAX though, right?
It is.
Oh, it is. Oh, nice. Yeah.
It better be for. I paid $24 to get in that thing.
And Charles, you just watched Fury Road for the first time?
I did. I had never seen it, and people talk about it like it's the best movie ever. I thought it was okay. It was good.
I will say it is a movie that I really liked the first time I watched it, but every couple of years I'll rewatch it, and every time I watch it I appreciate it like more and more and more. Like it's last time I watched it was like, this is a weird place to cite, but it was like a long flight, and I was like, I don't really want to play a game or like read a book or anything yet, and I put that on and I was like, it's like a bad setting to like watch it on a little behind the headset movie, but like it is so visual and entrancing that it just pulled me in like so much. And Furiosa is different. Like Fury Road is very clean of like point A, point B. And there's going to be a lot of stuff that happens along the way. And Furiosa is like, this is one character's lifespan. Let's watch the whole thing. And and like the game, it was nice to have that game to go to, of like, this isn't like, I'm not like sucked in. I don't think I'm going to put like 50 hours into the Mad Max video game. I don't think I've rediscovered some classic, but like watching that movie, it was just like, it just totally enveloped me of like, I want to explore more of this world. I want to be in this world. And the cool thing is like, even though the director George Miller has he's like I don't know, he recently had a comment and was like, oh, I'd love if Hideo Kojima made a Mad Max game because they're like best buds now. George Miller is in Death Stranding. Did you know that, Charles?
He's been scanned.
I didn't know that.
He's if you remember the most recent trailer for Death Stranding 2, it's like him. And am I just talking gibberish at you, Charles?
He's in
Do you know Death Stranding 2?
I don't think I've seen the trailer for Death Stranding 2.
So wait, he's in the second one, not the first game?
Yeah, so they're like it's him and Quiet are like looking at a body on a table.
Oh, that's him?
That's George Miller. Like he's not acting, he's not performing, but they scanned him and put him in. You always know George Miller because he wears glasses and he always has like grandpa glasses,
glasses holders.
Yeah, like he
Whatever
where
call
he can
those.
take off his glasses and wear them around his neck. Like that's
Yeah.
like his. If Chris Nolan has a scarf, George Miller has glasses holders. Like
Yeah,
that's like his
spectacle
weird
chains.
thing. Yeah,
That's what I call them.
but like so like that. Some people saw that as like just sort of him being negative about the 2015 game, and he did say some negative things. He was like, "Yeah, it didn't quite come together the way we wanted," and then like. Cory Barlog, the God of War 2018 and God of War 2 director, was working on a Mad Max game for years and years that fell through. Like, I would love to know what happened there. Like, it has this weird history with video games, but they did get one out in 2015, and it's, like, fun. It's, like, a good excuse to drive around the Mad Max wasteland. And, like, the main antagonist of the game, Scrotus, I think is his name, is in Furiosa. He's one of the kids. He's one of why can't I remember what
He's
his name's?
the big one, right?
No, he's the smaller
The
one.
small, the kind of like snivelly guy.
Yes.
He-
Yeah. So he's the main antagonist of the game, and then further on that, we're not going to do Furiosa spoilers if you haven't seen it yet. But there's a scene where a character presents Furiosa with a car. And then they they pull the curtain off the car. That character is supposedly Chumbucket from the Mad Max game, who is in the car with you the whole game. He's like the one fixing the car in the back seat and stuff like that. It's like a cameo. And then you go to Gastown in the game and stuff like that, and it looks very similar. Like, it's all treated as all canon, right? Which is like weird. I'm really going off at a tangent here, and I apologize, everybody. But like. Right, like, there's the game, and there's Furiosa, and they're kind of, like, interconnected lore, but then, like, if you look back at the history of these films, which I'm not an expert, I've passively watched the first three. I love Fury Road, I love Furiosa, that's kind of where I'm at, but, like, those movies play really fast and loose with canon. Actors will play different characters, similar characters in different movies. Like, there's a gyrocopter pilot in the second and third movie that are supposed to be two different characters played by the same actor.
Weird.
And Furiosa technically gets recast. There's a different Anya Taylor-Jones looks different than Charlize Theron. Mel Gibson looks different than Tom Hardy. And like, it's a series that like plays loose with like story and lore, and it's a lot of legend, and there's like rumors that the character of Mad Max in Fury Road is actually the child from the Road Warrior, and there's a lot of evidence that points to that, but George Miller like dismisses it and says no, that's not the case, despite having all these little seeds everywhere that like this kid adopted the sort of the title of Mad Max for Fury Road is sort of the myth that surrounds it, and it like made me think of Zelda in a way, in that there's like these recurring games that always connect, but it's all like strange and nothing's really confirmed. And like in Breath of the Wild, you can see all these names of islands that connect to old games, but sometimes they're like misspelled and weird because it's just this world that has existed for so long that everything is like slightly out of focus and weird. And it's something that I've come to like really love about Mad Max. Like, again, not spoiling the end, but Marcus, like the end of Furiosa, there's at least one element that is left very much like, we're not really sure what happened here, in a way I really like. And that's really cool and weird. And so like, I think my love for like the lore of Zelda, which is something players take a lot more seriously than Nintendo. Like, right, they are working from the end to the beginning. They're like, we want a game where Link can do all these weird things, and we'll connect that stuff with, strings and everything later. We're more interested in like getting players to a position where they can play this thing. And I think George Miller approaches like Mad Max that way, where he's like, I want to make a crazy car chase movie out in the desert, and I will just pull the things that I like that I've created for Mad Max to put that in there. Max doesn't need to look like the same person. I'm not worried about that. What I'm worried about is how cool it looks that they're racing through the desert, which is the end of my Mad Max tirade. Go see Furiosa. I'm so scared that the Borderlands movie is going to make more money than Furiosa, and it's not going to be fair.
I feel like when you first said, like, before we started recording, that you had like an idea of mine connecting Zelda and Mad Max, I was like, I have no idea what you're talking about, but I'm excited to hear it. And that was a lot more coherent than I was expecting it to be.
Okay,
A lot more
you.
like a it was more about like broad stuff as opposed to like this guy reminds me of Tingle.
Oh no!
So yeah,
there are a lot of characters in Mad Max that remind me of Tingle.
Yeah, I mean, it kind of like I guess to go almost like back around again, like Link or Zelda is sort of the video game version of James Bond. Of like it's always a different, it's a different Bond, but it's the same Bond at the same time.
Yeah, but then Mad Max
and the continuity gets weird too there.
Yeah, the Bond continuity is really weird. But like Mad Max is weird to me too, because another thing about Furiosa is like the opening scene, they show Earth and it like zooms in Australia. So it's like, by the way, if you've ever like been unsure about if this is on Earth and it's in Australia. Like we're making that abundantly clear in Furiosa, which is really cool. Charles, you should go see that movie. It's good.
I should.
Have you seen the other Mad Maxes, or was Fury Road your first?
Fury Road was my first, but I understood it well enough. I watched it with my girlfriend who has a hard time processing stuff when she doesn't feel like she has all the pieces. So I was like, this movie gives me all the essential world building I need, and she was kind of like, why are they doing this? Who is this guy? Why is this happening this way? In a way that I get. Like, if you had seen the other ones, I'm sure this was like kind of like a soft.
No, I mean, I was gonna say, like, honestly, I like to the point about the continuity. Like, you do not need to see those first three movies to understand or appreciate Fury Road.
And like I said, there's a lot of little things. Like Max has like a little music box, and there's one scene where he has a flashback to like a child that's like very brushed off. But like that stuff, that movie is a Furiosa movie, really. Max is just this like weird co-star that like just happens to be there.
If you remember the poster, it's like prominently Furiosa, and then Max is just like in the background driving, but it's like she's like looking at the audience in the poster. You're like, oh, this is her movie.
I think that movie is summed up in that scene where Max is trying to snipe somebody, and Furiosa like walks up behind him, and she's like, let me just take care of this. And he's like, all right, okay, you take the gun, but you can put the gun on my shoulder. I'll help you balance. And that's like, that to me sums up that movie so well. I love that movie so
Furiosa is also so good. Shout out to Anya Taylor-Joy. Shout out to Chris Hemsworth.
Speaking of a Hemsworth.
He is amazing in that movie. He is having the time of his life.
Those movies are so important to like Australian culture that apparently he's been like fighting to get in a Mad Max movie for a long time. He wanted to be Max in the Fury Road, but they went with Tom Hardy. So like that just has to be like, that's like, we love him as Thor, but I bet for him, a child from Australia, he's like, yeah, Thor's great, but I'm going to be in Mad Max.
It's funny because in the movie, he more or less plays like evil, crazy Thor.
Is George Miller Australian?
No, he's from Pittsburgh.
Oh, okay.
That was a terrible joke. Yes, he is absolutely like it is such a series coded.
I really fell for that. I was sure.
Yeah, sorry. It was almost rude of me, but it's like he is Australia. It's like him and Baz Luhrmann like invented Australian cinema basically.
So they invented Australia is what you're gonna say.
They invented Australia. Yeah, the original Mad Max came out in '79, and it was like one of the first. I could be wrong about this, so please feel free to correct me. But it was like one of the first big Australian like independent hits.
Gotcha.
They were like, look, here's this weird movie we made. By the way, here's Mel Gibson. He's going to be the biggest American movie star for like the next 10 years until he,
throws it all away.
From grace somehow. I don't know what happened. I don't remember. But he's Mr. Australia for sure. Yeah.
Gotcha.
And Mad Max is like, they use guzzling. They don't use gasoline. They use guzzling.
Yeah. It's Furiosa's already one of those movies I wish I could watch again for the first time, like as soon as I left. And I went with a few media peeps, including a friend of the show, Alex Van Aken.
Oh, cool.
But yeah, we were all looking at each other like, that was great, right? I'm not the only one that's like beaming right now. Like, okay, we're all just like, this is awesome. And it did make
long. It's a little long, but good.
It doesn't feel long though. No. And it's funny when you told me when we were planning the show that you had revisited the game. I thought about that game towards the end of the movie because I was just so like pumped up about like just these, the action scenes. It's like, man, I might have to fire up that Mad Max game and just drive around in there for a bit. Because I only played like a little bit of it, maybe like the first couple hours back when it came out, but didn't stick with it. I think I still have my Xbox like digital copy probably.
That's what I had. I just went and downloaded that. Yeah.
Yeah, so it was one of the things like, I wonder if I remember at the time it reviewed like kind of like average, like middling, kind of like
it's like high 7s, 8s.
Yeah.
I think Game Informer gave it like a 7.5 or something like that. Yeah.
Yeah, so I was wondering like, oh, would this remove from the hype? 'Cause I was pretty excited for that game when it was coming out. Like if I would just appreciate it more, and then also just being carried by like the high of Furiosa. Like, man, maybe I'll stick with this and just because just to have new Mad Max content to enjoy.
Yeah.
Until when or if we get another film, you know?
Yeah, I don't know, really. Like was I joking beforehand? I mean, George Miller, he's 79 years old. Like he's getting up there. I hope he has another Mad Max in him. I don't know.
I mean, this one took forever because he was supposed to film this like back to back with Fury Road, but then it went into like development hell for a while.
Yeah, it was going to be an animated movie for a while, and then he made 3,000 Years of Longing, which is like a weird genie movie. I don't know if you guys have seen that with Idris Elba.
I know of it, but
it's odd. It's a weird one. That's kind of all he does, George Miller. Just makes it weird. He never does anything normal.
Yeah, another Happy Feet sequel.
Yes, I'll take it. Sure.
3 feet this time.
The penguins
3 feet this time.
The penguins are set in a Mad Max world where a nuclear apocalypse has mutated them to have 3 feet.
I did see someone,
day one. I'm there.
Someone interviewing him about how he's like, yeah, I've always felt that Mad Max and Happy Feet are actually really similar because of the way it's about like a journey from one place to another, and they're going over like what's essentially a wasteland. And George Miller was like, yes, oh my gosh, you get it.
I could see that. That's
great. That's really great.
Yeah. Is George Miller familiar with Fallout?
You know, that's
Do
a good
we know
question.
that?
I don't know. At this point, he's got to be, right?
I mean, maybe like now, as of this year, maybe. But do you think he's like? Does he have opinions about that their wasteland and stuff? That just dawned on me. Like, does he like Fallout?
Yeah. I mean, he has overlapped with the video game industry. He was, like I said, he worked with Cory Barlog for a long time. Surely Cory Barlog was like, "Have you heard of this Fallout franchise? It's pretty cool," But yeah, it's a good question.
Oh man, that could be a crossover right there. You could see Mad Max pull up in Fallout, the TV show. Like he just drives up and picks up Ella Purnell, and they just go on an adventure together.
We're going to Australia to get some
we still
gasoline.
Don't. I mean, there's nothing saying they can't be in the same universe. The nuclear apocalypse in Mad Max is pretty vague.
Yeah,
you know,
that's true. Yeah.
So, and they're so far away because Australia and the United States, where Fallout takes place.
Yeah, that could totally be happening at the same time for sure.
Yeah, who knows? Get one of them on a plane to go visit the other one, and then there's your game / TV show / movie. Make it
something. We'll take it.
But that also to say, just bring up the Mad Max game. I wanted to talk about just video game tie-ins in general, because it's got me itching. That Furiosa has me itching to play. Like, I want this as a video game, this movie, in a way that I haven't felt in a long time. After seeing a movie, like I feel like even the best movies, I walk away not thinking like, man, I wish this was a video game. Like I didn't walk away from the Iron Claw being like, well, I got to fire up WWE 2K, so I got to create the Von Erichs and make this happen.
You probably had no positive feelings for yourself after walking out. I don't want to do anything fun. I just want to sit in my feelings.
It's like they're still alive in my game. I'm going to create all of them. But yeah, I was like, oh man, like. If this was like the 2000s, we would have absolutely had a game for this probably, like just ready to go right at the bat. We would have like a disinterested Anya Taylor-Joy voicing over, and it would have been the movie, but with expanded missions of like, oh, here's an original character or something in between the actual like canon stuff. Maybe Chris Hemsworth is into it, who knows? But it's like it feels like you almost forget like, man, that just used to be the standard. That's just what always happened with any like blockbuster release. And now it's like, I mean, movie adaptation games are like basically done more or less at this point, and like the best we get now are like, this is a game set in this universe, but it's not retelling the movies.
I mean, now we just get Fortnite skins. That's like the new adaptation,
or like weird apps.
Guest appearances and free-to-play gacha games and stuff like that. Yeah, it's not good.
Yeah, and I guess, like, do you think there's still a place for that now in the industry, or do you think we've kind of moved on from that? Because now the closest we get to that is, like I said, you just take the franchise and make a game in it, like the Star Wars Jedi games or whatever,
we do get better games within franchises that we like as a result of that, and it's like cost prohibitive to try to adapt a film because films take, obviously there's pre-production and writing and stuff that takes forever, but like from production to finish, it's like much more condensed than a video game, So like I still kind of have a soft spot for them though. Like I'm trying to remember the last one I played. Like there's the best, right? Like I have a lot of affection for Spider-Man 2. I remember loving Batman Begins so much when it came out that
really?
Like I played through that game. It's not a good game, but like I was like very happy with it and like pleased to have an excuse to go exist in the Batman Begins universe. I think the last one I played, there was a Thor video game when the first Thor came out.
I remember.
Yeah.
I remember.
That was the. It's funny because it wasn't that one, but the same year was the Captain America game because those movies came out the same year in 2011.
Right.
And I remember
Captain America's supposed to be solid, right?
Yeah, I played some of the Cap game, and I almost want to say I think that was the last movie tie-in that I can remember playing. And I remember thinking like, oh yeah, this is all right. Like the throwing the shield and stuff felt like pretty good and satisfying. And I feel like that was also maybe like the last gasp for those kind of games were those like Phase 1 MCU games.
Yeah, there was Lego Star Wars Force Awakens.
I was gonna say my obvious answer here is there's a lot of Lego instances of this.
Yeah,
sure.
Force Awakens is probably the most like specific one, but there's also like Lego Lord of the Rings. They did Lego Pirates, but
did those come out alongside the movies though?
Oh, that's a good point. There was Lego The Hobbit. That came out during when those Hobbit movies were coming out.
I forgot they did a Hobbit version
and they
of those.
didn't. It wasn't really. It was like afterwards, but they did do a Lego Avengers movie that like has some of the other Marvel movies in it. But
that was like a PS4 launch game. I played that early on in the PS4. That was like one of the few Lego games that I ever finished.
Yeah.
Gosh. Yeah. This is a weird one, but I think it was you know that guy, you guys know that mobile game Cannibalt?
No.
Where you're like running on a city. It was like one of the early endless runners. This was like before the mobile market was like flush with free to play stuff. But that developer, if I could be wrong, but I believe it was that developer, made a Hunger Games mobile game that was not free to play. It was like a premium game. It was like $5 or something like that. And you were like Katniss running through the woods, like tapping on enemies and attacking them with their bow. And it was very much like an arcadey little thing that I actually was kind of excited about because I like Cannibal so much. So I guess that one counts.
I really like. I feel like a lot of these answers are superhero games, but there was a Hulk game that was, I think it was for the Incredible Hulk. I think it was 2008. I just knew it because my cousin had it, and then we got it. But you're just like are the Hulk and jump around the city. It's not
Ultimate
the one that's
Destruction,
on
probably, right?
It's not the one that's on like GameCube. This was on like the Xbox 360.
Yeah,
right.
Because Ultimate Destruction was pre-MCU.
So that this came out with the Edward Norton one, I guess, right?
I think so.
Because there was one for the original. I don't remember who the actor that played Hulk was. Do you guys know who I'm talking about?
Oh, Eric Bana?
Yeah, there was an Eric Bana movie adaptation.
A really bad game.
Yeah, because like
to go with a really bad movie.
You would play as Eric. Come on, don't badmouth that movie. That's a good movie. Actually, full disclosure, I've never actually seen it, but I just like the director. So,
okay.
But that movie it had a bunch of stealth sequences, and it was like the king of like. Metal Gear is popular. We'll put stealth in our game. We're like, we want to play as the Hulk. What are you doing?
What if you played it? What if you were Bruce Banner for entirely too much of this game?
Yeah.
It's just called The Incredible Hulk 2008. It's a game I have on my 360.
Right, yeah. Because it was like
I said, all the Phase 1 MCU movies got games. Because there's the Iron Man game for the first film too.
That's true.
Right. Yeah. Those
but you know what's wild?
Ones. They must have been.
You know what's what? It's always boggled my mind that there was never an Avengers movie game. Like, we got all the Phase 1 film games, but, like, at the time, the biggest superhero film ever. Like, look at all these characters are here, and they never did a game based off of it. I was like, how did that
they did Lego,
happen?
Right? did
Well, the Lego thing was more of a comic book thing. Like, it wasn't
Okay.
retelling the movie at all. It was just kind of capitalizing on the popularity of the Avengers team, but it was otherwise its own thing.
Yeah.
You know?
It also came out like around like Age of Ultron is when the Avengers Lego thing came out.
Okay, got it. Weird. Yeah, that must have been it. Like that was the last gasp of it, right? Was that Iron Man and Thor and Hulk, and then then it's done. Then it just becomes cost prohibitive. Like it just gets too expensive to try to rush out a game to go alongside a movie that quickly, right?
Yeah, unless you're there like really early, and I guess at this point it would have to be a sure bet of like the next Avengers movie. If they were like, we want a game adaptation of Secret Wars, then you would green like that immediately. Because you're like, oh, that movie's gonna do well.
Yeah.
Like it just is. So a game's gonna do well, probably, or at least good enough, depending on how much money you want to put into it.
But all that being said, I do like where we are now, where it's like I would rather get Insomniac taking their time on Spider-Man and Wolverine games, and not have them worry about trying to rush it alongside a movie or something, and then the games become their own thing and they get to. So it's like we get better games now, but yeah, I would be lying if I said there wasn't something charming about like the summer blockbuster that I was really excited to go see in theaters, and then I would come home and play the video game, the crappy video game that wasn't as good as the movie.
Or if you're watching X-Men Origins Wolverine, the game was vastly superior.
There you go. That's a good point. Yeah, it's one of the few examples.
The movie I watched recently that for some reason I wanted it to be a video game was Madam Web. Madam Web just got added to Netflix.
Because it felt like you were watching a PS2 cutscene? Is that why?
Yeah. It really had like video game cutscene energy where it was like,
I feel like we're insulting video game cutscenes a little bit here.
Just in the sense of like PS2. They had to have put their resources somewhere else because it's not going in the dialogue and writing of these cutscenes. Except that's all the movie is. And also, like, have either of you seen this movie?
No.
Oh, I saw it in theaters. I paid money.
Yeah,
but I also knew it was bad. Like, me and a friend went to a late showing just to kind of basically riff on it. Like, how bad can it be? And then, okay, that bad. Gotcha.
Yeah.
That bad.
I want it to be a video game because it has, like, I just know it would be a terrible video game, but also, like, no part of it would really make a very good video game. Like, it would have to do that thing they do sometimes where it's like, you're not really, like, living through any of the parts of the movie. You're just playing as like Dakota Johnson in a weird platformer in between like what's essentially chunks of the movie where she's like, I have to go back to my apartment to do this thing, and then there's like a driving mini game or something, but there's like, and then maybe a boss battle at the end.
You just turn it into Indigo. Or it's just like weird, like surprise, like why platforming sequences in an otherwise like realistic game. Like you're exploring this forest that you left these kids in for 3 hours for some reason, and then
I mean that's like 16-bit era kind of stuff, right? Yeah. Where it's like, what? This is nothing, nowhere like this was in the movie. What are we doing here?
If it was good, it would be like a Life is Strange. Because she's got some kind of like future vision power thing,
right? Yeah.
Well, but they'd have to like rewrite the whole thing and make it like a good story for it to be engaging. So
they'd have to rewrite it, but be good.
Rewrite it, but good.
Yeah.
Have you
That's
seen
the edit I'm going to start giving you guys, just in general, just for anything.
Just rewrite it, but make it good.
Rewrite this, but good.
Have you seen Madam Web, Kyle?
No, I was busy that day. Whenever it came to Netflix or whatever, I'm good.
I highly recommend it, Kyle. Like genuinely, it's so funny.
Yeah,
it's fascinating. If you've ever been fascinated at train wrecks of like how can this exist?
As I've gotten older, I try not to watch stuff like bad stuff that's bad. If that makes sense, right? It's like, oh, I'm gonna spend an hour and a half watching this thing. I've heard it's so bad, it's gonna be hilarious. It's like, well, I could watch something good.
I mean, it's so bad. Are you a so bad it's good person?
What'd you say?
Are you a so bad it's good person?
Not really. I certainly was at one time in my life. There's the joy of going to like a theater with your friends or like renting a cult movie or something like that. But now that I'm just like a dad, who's trying to find any time to do the things he wants to do, I try not to waste it on things like Madam Web. But you know what? You guys convinced me. Maybe I should watch Madam Web.
I think the last line of the movie is like, and that's the best part about the future. It hasn't happened yet. And then it goes to credits.
Doesn't make sense.
It's
either.
all
just
it's all
what does
like
that
that.
mean? Like, I guess the best part is the definition of uncertainty.
Yeah.
It's like, I guess. It's one of those lines that's supposed to sound more profound than it actually is.
Yeah.
You take one step back and you're like, wait, why is that a good thing though? You're like,
Yeah, you didn't say. Yeah, and also she does know what happened. It's her superpower.
Yeah, she's lying.
Yeah.
Yeah, she's speaking from a place of privilege. It's like, yeah, for the peons that can't see the future. Yeah, we should go see the movie, Kyle, and then we can do a spoiled video on it, is what we're getting at.
Yeah,
right.
And then pitch our video
months later.
And Charles, I'll assign you to Furiosa, a fantastic movie that you're going to be grateful that you went and saw. Go see it on the biggest screen you can find.
I'll be like, that wasn't bad at all.
That was all really good.
I was going to say, I had a similar thought, Charles, about watching a movie and wishing it was a game when I watched Avatar: The Way of Water when I was getting ready to write the Avatar cover story last year. Because I hadn't seen it up to that point. And there's a scene where the guy, I don't remember any of those kids' names, but the son is like swimming with the space whales. And I was like, I kind of, because it's like, this looks so pretty and it's so serene. Or like, man, if you made this like a game of like an Abzu style thing, and you're just like what if the Avatar game just had this? Like, you just swim around with these space whales and you're just talking to them and you're just in this beautiful ocean and it's like Subnautica but without the terror involved. And then I was like, I kind of want that, but the game doesn't take place in that part of Pandora, so.
And then you played Endless Ocean and you were kind of like, well, this is a little underwhelming.
What if there were too many space whales?
Is that what it's called? Endless Ocean? I feel like now.
Yeah.
Is there an RPG called Endless Ocean or something?
I mean, it's probably got those words like Star Ocean. There's probably a Star Ocean game with the word endless in it somewhere.
Yeah, there's some RPG with the word endless, infinite infinity or something like that.
There's infinite undiscovery.
That's the one I'm thinking of, yeah. Yeah, I don't know. Maybe I'm thinking of Star Ocean, yeah.
Star Ocean, Endless Story R. That's probably the name of one of them.
You nailed it. That's in 5 years, that'll be a new game.
Yeah. Alrighty, but I guess we're to sort of like wrap this up. I should say I miss. I don't know if "miss" is the word, but I guess I'm nostalgic for those kind of games.
Yeah.
Like we are better off now. Like I would rather have the Guardians of the Galaxy that we got a few years ago than like a retelling of the 2014 movie. As much as I love that movie, but like that game is like no, just do something original. Don't even. You get to play around with the license a lot more when you're not beholden to the movie restrictions.
Focus on what works in a video game structure instead of a movie structure. Yeah, that kind of thing.
Yeah, or in the case of just a strictly film franchise like Avatar, of like, oh, it's a new story, it's canon to the universe, but it's its own thing. Yeah, it's like more I guess like Mad Max is of like, oh man, I wish I had new Mad Max to consume that's canonical. Like, oh, there's that game there. You could go play that and have like a decent enough time. So it's like, yeah, I guess I could do that. Then technically just reliving a story I'd already seen again, with maybe some twist in there. So like things are better now, but it just like Furiosa has made me weirdly nostalgic for that era. Those old games. Yeah. And honestly, maybe it'll come back around because everything does eventually. It'll be a fashionable game. Someone will do an adaptation of some whatever big blockbuster that's on the horizon, and then they'll make a bunch of money, and then everyone else will go like, wow, we should do that too. And then it becomes... And then the newer generation that didn't grow up with those games will be like, what a novel idea. A video game movie. Five Nights at Freddy's 2, the game, the movie, the game, the movie.
Like, we're getting into like Street Fighter, the movie, the game territory now, aren't we?
Yeah. They were ahead of the curve.
For what is inarguably the worst Street Fighter game ever made, right?
Didn't they do a Legend of Chun-Li game?
Oh, like a single player kind of action game? Or are you thinking of Nina Williams from Tekken? She had her own.
No, I mean, that exists too, and that was awful. Wasn't there like... Oh, God, I have to look this up now.
I think you're right, yeah. Yeah, what's the worst Street Fighter game? And do you count Street Fighter the game, Street Fighter the movie, the game?
I mean, it's a Street Fighter fighting game, so yes.
Yeah.
It's not
Are you familiar with this game, Charles?
No, but I'm not like a Street Fighter
Okay,
person.
because there was the terrible movie with Jean-Claude Van Damme, and they did a video game adaptation, and if I'm not mistaken, Marcus, it actually hews closer to Mortal Kombat, right? It's like...
But they use digitized actors like Mortal
actors
Kombat did
for like a Street Fighter game, and apparently it's awful.
Right. Have you seen the live-action Street Fighter movie, Charles? Because we can give you another film assignment.
Yeah, watch that and Madam Web, and you'll be having a great night.
That's true. There you go. Alrighty, let's do some housekeeping here. Of course, thank you for listening, and if you'd like to support the show as well as Game Informer as a whole, you can subscribe to a physical version of the magazine right now for just $19.91. That gets you 10 issues a year, and it also gets you the digital subscription as well. You can up that subscription as Charles holds up the Star Wars Outlaws issue. Oh my gosh, there was 2 there. He's got the No Rest for the Wicked issue too. He's like a magician, folks. Kyle also has an issue that has become his face. And you can also double up on that subscription with a 2-year subscription for $34.99, and that gets you 20 issues a year, all sent direct to your door. It's a great way to support Game Informer directly, show our parent company that we're worth keeping around, and keep smiles on all of our faces as we continue to bring you the best gaming news and reviews and previews and all that jazz each and every week. Of course, you can also follow each of us on social media. I'm on Twitter at MarcusStewart7. You can follow Kyle at Kyle M. Hillier and Charles at ChuckDuck365. You can follow Game Informer as a whole on Twitter, as well as Facebook, Threads, Blue Sky, it's TikTok, Instagram, and keep up with us also on our Twitch channel, twitch.tv/Game Informer. We have our ongoing Super Replay series of The Legend of Zelda Majora's Mask going there. I saw last week as I was out of the offices, Kyle, you and Brian streamed Heavenly Sword, which was really fun to watch. I watched that at an airport. I was waiting for my flight.
Oh, cool.
Yeah, you guys did an awesome job. And also, I streamed X Defiant last week with Charlie Wacos, who is a friend of the show, reviewed X Defiant for us. And yeah, actually, Kyle, you know what we should do? We should stream that Mad Max game.
Yes.
We should do that.
I was just thinking of, like, when would we do that? That was my pause.
Yes, at some point.
Yeah.
Just hearing you talk about it made me want to look at that game again.
Yeah, boot it up.
Yeah, let's do it. We'll figure it out. And then also we gotta do that Questmaster thing. We should do that too.
yeah, right. You already promised it, so.
Yes. Be sure to also keep up with our awesome podcast editor, Matt Storm, aka DJ Storm again, who makes his show look and sound good each and every week. Be sure to follow their podcast, Fun and Games, as well as Reignite, which is a BioWare-focused podcast. And we have arrived at the portion of the show where you get to influence what we talk about, that being listener questions. If you would like to submit a question to the show, you can do so either by joining the Game Informer Discord, which you can gain access to by subscribing to our Twitch channel just one time, and going to the Game Informer Show's channel, where I usually make a call for questions each week. Or, if you're not in the Discord, you can email us at podcast@GameInformer.com. We've got 3 questions here, a couple held over from last week, first of which is, oh gosh, how do I pronounce this? Shifuju via Discord. That is my best attempt. Asking, what is the most important aspect of a game for your own personal enjoyment? Gameplay, story, graphics, replayability, multiplayer, or something else? I think I know this answer for you, Kyle.
Oh, yeah? What do you think it is?
I was going to say story.
No.
No?
Gameplay. Like, pretty handily. Like, if the game is not, like, fun to control, like, that's I'm out at that point. You know what I mean? In fact, I struggle with a lot of narrative games that don't, that sort of backseat, sort of it being fun to play, because, which is, like, I understand, they have their story. That's the thing they want front and center. But, like, if it's not fun to control the character, you know, in, like, a walking simulator or something like that, I struggle with it. Like, I want it to play well and play fun, and then everything else just makes that even better. You know what I mean? Like, if the story is cool, like, I mean, some of my favorite games don't have story at all, and they just feel really good to play, you know? I mean, I think a lot of people, as much as I love it, I don't think many people cite Zelda's story as the thing that they love about Zelda, you know? But, like, Breath of the Wild and Tears of the Kingdom, it's just so fun to exist in that world that if all the story was stripped out, I think I would still have a fantastic experience. Like, narrative is just, like, extra additional confetti, you know? So that's where I'm at. I'm a gameplay guy myself.
Yeah. What about you, Charles?
I think I'm also gameplay. I do find myself more nostalgic for, like, some of the games I go back to the most often are like the Spider-Man games. And I won't even, like, I mean, sometimes I'll obviously do full playthroughs, but a lot of the times I'll also just, like, drop into a file I've already finished and then just, like, swing around the city and fight crime for like an hour. So I think that's it, but it's also like, I don't know. It's a lot of things. I think the main thing that like makes me like a game is when I feel like all the pieces fit together very well. So like in a like if we're talking about like Breath of the Wild or Tears of the Kingdom, I feel like it has a lot of like the way that the gameplay and the story are balanced out, where it feels like so player driven that like I can feel like I'm just doing the story for a long time, and it feels like I decided to do that. And then other times I can just go and like fight stuff or look for a certain item in the depths or whatever. I think that's like what I'm talking about, like game philosophy overall of like what I think makes a good game. That's the main thing. Or like also in Spider-Man again, I always talk about how I like Spider-Man Miles Morales as like one of my favorite Spider-Man game. One of the things I like about that game more than the first Spider-Man game is I feel like it does a lot better job of like blending the narrative justification for some of the elements of like Spider-Man. The first 2018 game has stealth sections, but it always feels kind of weird because it a lot of that game feels like they're like, well, the Arkham games worked really well, so we're going to try to take aspects of that. But I never thought of like Peter Parker Spider-Man as like a stealthy dude. And a lot of the mechanics there are just like, you're just kind of swinging around and sticking to ceilings or whatever. Miles has the ability to turn invisible. So it always made way more sense for him to like want to be stealthy and be stealthy in that way as like an example for a thing that really makes a game work for me. Mm-hmm. So I guess that would be
it's like context, right?
Cohesion.
Like cohesion.
Yeah. I guess I'm also gameplay. I think when I think about games that I like, I think some of the best games I've enjoyed are the ones where the gameplay was awesome but had minimal to no story whatsoever. As much as I do love story and writing in games, whereas the opposite, when it's like, oh, this is a really good story, but the game is like, the gameplay is maybe not even necessarily bad, but just maybe minimal, is like, I like those. I'm trying to think of any games where it's like, oh, the story is great, but the gameplay is like actively bad. And I have a harder time kind of trying to come up with any good examples outside of maybe last year, Deliver Us Mars, which is a game that I reviewed, had that problem where that was a game I gave, I want to say like a 6.75, and it was almost entirely because the plot is like excellent in that game, to the point where I wanted to bring it up last year for like best narrative, but I knew I was like, I'm the only one that played this game. Like, it's not gonna.
I would argue all Telltale games have or had bad gameplay. Like, I don't like the gameplay of Telltale games. They feel stiff and weird, and the QTEs feel out of place. But, the ones that I pulled through and finished were, because I was getting pulled along by the story in spite of being annoyed by the gameplay, but which was not many. I didn't really get into the Telltale games myself.
That's kind of how I feel about like Ace Attorney games too, of like, I'm not doing it because I really like searching a background and clicking on the stuff that stands out. That's like a mostly story thing for me.
Yeah, and I wouldn't say the Ace Attorney games have like bad gameplay. It's just kind of, it's very minimal and limited. It's good for what it's trying to do, or what or it's all that it needs to do to get its point across. But in the other side of like, oh, this story is like Shakespearean, but the gameplay is just like trash. I'm trying to think. I don't know. I don't know if I played a lot of those games, or maybe I'm just like, because I feel like would a story be enough to pull me through an otherwise like miserable gameplay experience that it wasn't for work? I don't know. Maybe not. If it feels like the game's actively fighting me. So yeah, I'd say gameplay. I will say as a bonus, the thing I care about the least out of these options is replayability, because I rarely replay games.
Yeah.
Yeah. So usually I'm just one and done.
Maybe multiplayer for me. Multiplayer is a knock against a game for me, which is weird. It's like I don't want to play it if it's got other people. Other people are there? No, I'm good.
Get these guys. What if it was a Batman game where you could play co-op? and you were the other Bat Kids. What if someone made something like that?
Maybe I would play it for an hour and realize that that's not for me.
Marcus, why? What if we just didn't even have Batman though? Wouldn't that make it better and
what if
cooler?
he died?
What if
Is that what
Marcus,
you're suggesting?
don't be insane.
Okay.
Although you could have the marketing beat of Jeff Keighley exuberantly on stage proclaiming, "Batman is dead."
Forgot about that. Troidal Power via Discord asks, is there a mental switch that flips when you realize a game you were playing for fun is now a game you're playing for work? If so, how does that change the way you play? Kyle, was that sort of kind of Lorelei in the Laser Eyes for you? I know you checked it out kind of for work, but you weren't planning to review it until you liked it so much.
Yeah, I mean that is interesting that if a switch flips, because I wasn't committed to reviewing it until after I finished it, honestly. I think I might have said I might review this, I think.
Yeah,
like
you implied, because you're like,
okay.
I think I'm going to finish this and I want to talk about it.
Yeah. I mean, and that maybe, I think the flip that switches there is maybe like I'm 20% more motivated to finish it. But it's rare, I think, among us. Charles, you've done it a few times actually, where it's like you start a game and you play it, and then the review gets assigned. Like that happens less. It's weirdly happened to Charles like twice recently. But
that's because it's often like I just don't often have a lot of hours. Like I operate hourly, whereas everyone else is like salaried. So usually what happens is I will get a game and I'll be playing it in my free time to just like talk about on podcasts or whatever. And then I'll, like with Mario versus Donkey Kong, I was talking to Brian about it and I was like, yeah, I'm like almost done. And he was gonna review it. He was like, oh, I have a lot of other stuff going on. If you want to just review it. And I was like, yeah, I already like finished it, so it wasn't that big of a thing. I do have that switch flip. And I always hate it. I always hate knowing that, like, I don't know, just that now it's like, so Mario vs. Donkey Kong, that was fine, because I was like, I wanted to review it, so that was like a good example. It always feels weird when I've like started playing a game, and then it gets to a point where it's like, oh, this was a game for me for my own free time, but now I've spent enough time with it that I feel the need to like turn it into a work thing. And that like takes like some of the enjoyment out of it, whereas I do like I mentioned it like once really offhandedly during a mic check. I played Pushmo this year. I didn't talk about it anywhere. I played it on DS. I really liked that it was just like a personal thing. But when I do realize it's a work thing. Is that a thing for you, Marcus? Is that like a switch, or are you always kind of on the prowl?
I feel like mentally, maybe because doing this long enough now, where it's almost like, unless it's something that's really old that you're just not going to review, it's just too old, right? But if it's something that's like relatively new, if it's something from this year, I feel like that my brain is always on call, for lack of a better term, of review stuff. Like everything I play, there's that nugget of I could make this work in some way, either like as an NGT or a stream or a review or whatever it is. And then sometimes that's like, it's exciting when it's something that maybe a lot of people aren't talking about. And then if you're like really liking it and you're just like, oh, I don't want us to forget about it. I want us to talk about this at the end of the year because I'm having that much fun with it. And it wasn't on the docket until I started playing it. So then it's like that exciting, like, oh man, like there have been several times I've messaged Brian, but like, hey, I'm just playing this, just because I had a code, just checking it out. But like, we should do a review for it. There was something this year that I did that for. I'm trying to, I feel like I'm blanking on it. There was something I gave up. I think Indigo was that actually. I don't think.
Oh, I think you might be right.
Indigo, I volunteered because I was like, I heard about this and I was just checking it out because I played the Steam demo, and it was like, yeah, we should do something with that. So yeah, I guess that's a recent one, but there's also times where I'll do it and then I feel like that pressure to get it done, or like the pressure that comes with any work assignment of like, okay, now that I've turned this from like a casual thing into an assignment, now I have to get this done in a more timely manner than if I was just playing it whenever I felt like it. And then, the entire process, like, okay, I gotta write the review, I gotta maybe do a video on it, I gotta talk about it semi-coherently on a podcast, all that good stuff. Like, whereas before I would have just kept it to myself and internalized. I'm like, oh, yeah, that's cool. Okay. So then sometimes I do feel that like inherent work anxiety that can pop up, just depending, and that can vary based on like how busy my workload already is, right? Of like, we should do something with this, but am I adding too much to my existing plate by taking this on now? But then the passion usually, but we can't let this, can't let this slide. We got to talk about this. We got to get this out there, man. It's gonna be cool. So I guess that's like the biggest difference, going from like carefree to, okay, for better or worse, all the work stuff that comes with making this review game I'm now taking that on,
Mm-hmm. I think there's also a thing for me. And again, I do want to know if you guys relate to this, because I don't actually know if this is a thing that goes away or if you still feel it. Sometimes I'm playing a game and I'm like, okay, I guess I'm going to talk about this for work. I guess I have to think of a way to be smart about it. Sometimes I'm just playing and I'm like, yeah, dude, I love Spider-Man. I love I'm doing stuff, and I'm just not even thinking about it critically. And I'm like, I guess I got to like, I don't know, form a thesis statement or something.
Yeah, I have that a little bit. I need a take, But yeah, a thesis is a good way to put it. Like, because you want to have something to grab onto if you're talking about a game, rather than just being like, yeah, it's good. Yeah. You need a little more than that. So yeah, no, you never get over it.
Okay. Yeah.
Look forward to that.
I think it's even more maybe nerve-wracking the more that you like it.
Yeah.
Or definitely. The more, I think or maybe the other way too, like if you passionately love it or you passionately dislike it, it feels like you can't just say like, I hate or I love this game. You want to be able to convey intelligently why you enjoy the thing so much. Whereas before you could just get away, but like, I love this game, man. You got to check it out. And then that's like the end of it,
Yeah.
Every review I've done, I get to a point in it where I'm like, I wish I could just do like an hour-long video essay about every part of this game, and then everything will be on the table and everyone would know what I'm saying, but that's not a thing we do. And also, I don't want to spend a month on every review I do.
So long. I mean, we're open to it if you want to do it, but
I don't have. I have other things I should be doing.
What if we all just had Super Eye Patch Wolf's work schedule?
Who is this?
Oh, he's like a really popular YouTube essayist.
Oh, I don't know.
He does some really good video essays. Oh, okay. He's got
I believe you.
Okay, well, he's great. Check him out. He's got some great wrestling stuff, too. But he does a bunch of other stuff. Last question. Grant via Discord. What would be some adaptations of games to movies you guys would like to see as either live action or animated? I would love to see a live action Metroid movie or an animated Gravity Rush movie.
There was a Gravity Rush movie was in the works at one point. I don't know if it still is, but that's a fantastic answer. I would love to see Gravity Rush.
Yeah, was that movie going to be animated too?
I believe so. Yeah, as it should be. Yeah, I would still like to see an animated Jak and Daxter movie. Like the track record for that kind of stuff is pretty bleak. Ratchet and Clank is not a very good movie.
No.
But like the story of Jak and Daxter I like quite a lot, more than Ratchet and Clank, because it's like involves time travel and stuff, and like I would love to see a story that takes the arc of the first game and the second game. Like I think that would be a cool film. The third game, speaking of Mad Max, very Mad Max inspired game, riding giant buggies around the desert. The third one I could take or leave, but the first two in particular I would like to see adapted at some point. I think that'd be fun.
This is getting harder because we're getting so many of these now. It feels like either they come out or they're
left.
Right, or either they've been greenlit and may not ever see the light of day, or they've actually come out. I almost said Devil May Cry,
BioShock would still be fun to see realized, But that comes and goes in terms of being existing.
Netflix is doing that now, right? Was that the most recent thing, right? They got their hands on that, and that's still happening. But yeah, it's like that, and I guess Halo we can take off now because we got the show, even if it wasn't the movie everyone wanted. But like, I feel like
or the show anyone wanted.
If it's like BioShock and Metal Gear are like the two white whales when it comes to video game movies. Of like, it feels like we've been hearing about both forever and they never materialize.
Yeah.
God. I almost said Devil May Cry, but then I remembered there was that animated show in the 2000s that was like pretty fun. I don't know if that would work in live action, honestly. But
Did they ever do like a Horizon Zero Dawn Zero or Forbidden
That's
West
on the
show
way.
at all?
I'm almost certain. I think that's in production. Yeah.
That would be good animated, I think.
Because I know Ghost of Tsushima is happening from PlayStation Studios, like the movie.
Yeah,
I think God of War, Ghost of Tsushima, and Horizon, I think, are all on track to have adaptations, I believe.
Okay. Maybe, man, I'm gonna have to think of some indie games since we're starting to get into that now.
Oh yeah, give me a Katana Zero animated show.
Ooh.
That would be really good. I think my take on this is I really like animated stuff, and I think I'm more interested in taking some of these art styles to a different art style than like trying to take it from its unique art style to a live action in a lot of instances. So like another good one, I played all three of these games in the same year, but like Celeste I think would be interesting. I don't really know what that would be, but also like Hollow Knight, I think you could have some really cool. That one actually I want live action. I want a Tim Burton Hollow Knight movie.
Weird. Okay.
That's my pitch.
I really love the indie game in terms of like a story, Iconoclasts. I would love to see an animated version of that. And the creator of that game, his brother is a Hollywood director. He directed the 2 Shazam films.
Okay.
Yeah, there's a character in Shazam 2 that is wearing an Iconoclast t-shirt as a nod to his brother. I don't know if he's ever worked in animation or would be interested in animation, but that would be fun to see those two, like the sibling, sort of get together and make an animated movie based on this original property. And Iconoclast is a very cool sort of, it's all about like religion and weird stuff, but it's got the colorful art style. It's
a great game.
Yeah.
That conversation has to have happened around Thanksgiving or something, right?
Sure. I hope so, yeah.
That's the kind of thing they would say, and then like one aunt would be like, "So, are you gonna make an Iconoclast movie?" And they'll like laugh about it. It's like, well, we've talked about it, and that's like the end of the conversation.
It's like the idea of someone's aunt asking about Iconoclast.
They definitely wouldn't know the proper noun. They'd be like, "So, are you gonna get Zachary Levi for the next?"
Is he gonna emerge from a pool of milky white substance to give him superpowers, just like in the game?
The keeper of the lore, old aunt. I thought I want a live action Case of the Golden Idol. Like, give me a Knives Out style live action mystery, but it's Case of the Golden Idol. But then you also make all the cast members, like, I don't know, maybe you put like prosthetic makeup on them, but they look as weird as those characters do in the games. Like that weird art style that game has, or everyone is just kind of gross to look at. Yeah. Just do that, or like try to like get in the ballpark of that look. But that would be cool. Like, yeah, just give me like Rian Johnson. Just let him play Case of the Golden Idol, and then let him get ideas.
He might have. He's a video game guy. He plays video games.
Oh, that's true.
Oh, is he in your database, Kyle?
He is, yeah. He was talking about God of War at one point. He's a big Pokemon Go player. Yeah, he directed a Pokemon Go commercial in the middle of the pandemic.
Okay.
Yeah, that'd be cool. I want to see that. I like Case of the Golden Idol story a lot. The game rules. I'm excited for that sequel. So
yeah, I still need to play that one.
Yeah. Alrighty, that will wrap up the show. Thanks for watching, everyone. We will be back next Thursday with another episode. I guess I should have asked this earlier. Do we have a lunch song? I just thought of that.
We always have a
lunch song, yeah.
Okay, then we have another lunch song from Charles, another masterpiece. I enjoyed last week's song very much. I'm excited to see what you guys got this one. So stick around, everyone, for that.
It's just Charles. I don't want to claim any ownership. This is Charles's project, and he does amazing at it.
Kyle, I don't know. I look at you as like his manager.
Yeah, it is a thing, Kyle. We only play Charles' lunch songs when you and I are both on the podcast.
I guess that's true.
Yeah, like you said, you're the manager.
I always forget.
I'll take an executive producer credit, I guess.
Okay, yeah.
You're the Quincy Jones to Charles's Michael Jackson.
Yeah. Not like a George Miller Babe 1 executive producer credit, where it's like a normal executive producer credit.
There we go. Was that part of the show? No one's going to know what we're talking about. It's fine.
All right, well, here is Charles's latest lunch song, and we'll see you next week with another episode of the Game Informer Show, everyone. Bye.
This is a song about becoming a vegetarian.